Hey good people, welcome to Entertain the Thought. I am here because I wanted to do a follow-up video for quite a few things. Firstly, I wrote a blog about masculine and feminine energy, and I wanted to make a few good points about the blog just in case you didn't feel like reading as much. So, firstly, the blog is talking about the history of the imbalance between the masculine and feminine energy in our society. I think there are a few notable things to go into the discussion about how we became so imbalanced. And so, firstly, I want to talk about the influence of the Caucasian on our society and how the Caucasian or European race has been able to sort of perpetuate these low energies, these negative energies that have caused us to be out of balance as individuals and also as a society. So it should be noted that every person has their own balance, or their own mixture rather, of masculine and feminine energy. So when we get into a relationship, there's essentially a double balancing act that has to happen. Really a triple balancing act that has to happen, because the male and female in the relationship, or I'm just going to use a heterosexual style relationship for the sake of simplicity. You can mix and match your flavors however you want. So essentially in a relationship, you have the two people, male and female, who have to balance their energies in order for there to be a harmonious relationship, something that actually works. So when you have a male who obviously is going to be more inclined to his masculine energy, but he also has a feminine energy, that's one dynamic. Then you have a female in a relationship who is more inclined to her feminine energy, and she may or may not be in touch with her masculine. There is a very important relationship, or very important synergy that happens between those two participants. Okay, and it basically allows for either success or failure in the relationship. So my definition of the success of a relationship is when masculine and feminine energy both come together in order to create creation, in order to facilitate the process of creation. So let's just look at our society, for example. Men are largely emasculated or feminized because of the way society has been evolving. So when you try to put, I'm giving examples here. Of course, there are many different combinations on how this can happen, but I'm giving what I perceive to be a norm in our society. So you may have a man who is more feminine than he is masculine. And so when he gets with a female who is inclined to her feminine energy, but she also has had to assume a masculine approach to life for the lack of masculinity. And we all know, masculinity in our society is pretty scarce. So what is the dynamic that happens there when a woman is more masculine than she is feminine, when she is actually trying to be both? And I think that's what really hurts women in the black community, is that we are really trying our best to be feminine. But it don't seem like we're able to do that in large numbers, because we have to assume this masculine role because our masculine energy is now deficient. It has become compromised by the way social evolution has begun to happen. So now take a look at the man in the relationship, or the masculine energy in a relationship, and what happens when he becomes more feminine, or more in his feminine energy than he is in his masculine energy. That causes a huge imbalance when it comes to the process of creation, because the man provides the structure, he provides the focus, he provides the work in a lot of ways for the woman to be able to fulfill the vision and the creativity that she's been able to sort of manifest in the relationship. So it's extremely important to note that these things are not in harmony with us, because our homes are suffering from that. We're having to come up with these coping mechanisms where we have to sort of supplement whatever we're not getting from our relationships, and it's causing us to have these failures where we're not able to create anything. We're not able to build anything. And that's inside of our homes. Now, if you go a step up on the hierarchy of society, instead of being on an individual or familial level, we're actually talking about now in a social level. What happens when there's a disappearance of masculinity? We're not able to create any structures. Let it be known that a man has purpose, okay, ladies? Do not ever get into the habit of saying you don't need a man. Why? Because, first of all, men are focused, okay? Women tend to think about things 10 things at a time. And ladies, y'all know I'm not lying. I do this all the time. Our brains function on multi-dimensional levels as women. So when we get to overthinking and we get to thinking about multiple things, it causes us to worry, it causes us stress, it causes us to overthink, it causes us so much turmoil in our minds and our internal structures. But if we had a man to come and say, give me that, I will focus it for you, I will help you to prioritize, I will help you to sort of minimize on what it is that you're worrying about, because we're going to focus on this one thing and this one thing only, after you and I have come together and figured out what it's going to be in our relationship. What is it going to be in order for us to create whatever we're trying to create? So it's a social thing more so than it is just an individual or family based thing. So think about the fact that our community has struggled heavily trying to build structures, trying to build institutions, trying to set foundations that are actually sustainable, things that we can actually carry on into the future. Why? Because our men are lacking. Our men are either silent, dormant, missing, gone, feminine. They have been emasculated. Whatever the case is, it's like, okay, if there are real men out there, which I know that there are, please don't get me on that level, ladies. Stop saying that there are no good men. There are good men. We have to be able to recognize the goodness in them, okay? So let's just think about the things that our society is calling for at this point. So good men, stand up. We need your masculinity. Women, right now, we can handle it. Absolutely, we can. We always have been able to handle things. But when it comes to a safe place, when it comes to protection, when it comes to provision, when it comes to, like I said, strength, foundation, having all kinds of focus on the goal at hand, we must be in touch with our masculine energy. We must be in touch with those who have the what do you call it, the reserve of masculine energy, because the more and more it breaks down on a social level, the less and less we'll be able to build. Ladies, y'all know physically we can't build like a man can build. Well, unfortunately, that also has some very serious spiritual implications. Not to say that we can't build without a man, but it is more of a process. It's more of a task. It's more trying. It's more debilitating. It's more annoying as fuck when we're trying to get things done without our muscle. The man is the muscle. He's the mental muscle. He is the spiritual muscle. He's the one that comes in and says, look, I'm strong enough to handle this mental task. I need you to calm down with all of these thoughts that you got running all over the place. Let's sit down, let's think, let's prioritize, let's focus. So that's that. But I also want to talk about some of the things that we're doing to cope with the missing masculine energy that we're experiencing right now. And I think, honestly, we need to check ourselves about those coping mechanisms, because they're dysfunctional and they're damaging and self-destructive. So, coping mechanisms. We have been on this sex thing way too much. You guys, please let's stop. Let's stop it, because the sex thing has completely taken over our perception of reality in regards to relationships, okay? There's this thing that for some reason has continuously drawn us into this sexual probing of each other. And by God, is it not obvious now that sex is just sex? It's not going anywhere. It's not going to change. It's not going to be any more fulfilling now than it was before. It's not going to do anything magical. I don't understand why we're putting so much into it. It's really quite annoying. And I would like to say to men Don't you find it more sexy when a woman is intelligent? I have been getting a lot of feedback on my personal Instagram page and social media pages from men just saying, oh my goodness, a woman with a brain, that is sexy. Okay, now I'm not bragging on myself because I know there's plenty of smart women out there. But my question to you guys is, why don't you see us unless we're naked? Why don't you see us unless you can get something from us? Why don't you see us unless it's some sort of opportunistic opportunity for you? That's not right. And that's the reason why all of you guys are in the boat that you're in right now, because you have extremely objectified your women, your backbone, your strength, your creativity, your creation itself. You have reduced us drastically down to the level of sexual object, and which makes absolutely no sense. You want us to be a sexual object, but then you want us to be your everything else? No. How about you make us your everything else and then have us as your sexual pleasure? There's a difference, okay? And you have to recognize it if you ever want to benefit from it. So let's stop using sex to cope, okay? It doesn't work. And honestly, it's like retrograde. The shit is just going backwards. It's getting worse and worse. People are now cold about it. I mean, let me just fluff my hair. It's stupid, and I want us to stop, okay? So that's one of the coping mechanisms that I've found in our society about our imbalance. Also, you can tell about the emasculation. There's a large growing trend of homosexuality, and of course we need to stop that. I don't need to go further into that, but also the spirit of dismissive neglect. There is a huge problem when a human being can give birth to another human being and absolutely forget that that human being exists on the face of this earth. Now, I know women are not out here doing it like the men are, but men, becoming dismissive because you can't figure out the balance of a relationship, and you dismiss all of the things that come along with that relationship, all of the things that are supposed to build you as a man, as a person, as an entity, as a spiritual being. Please get it in your mind that life is not here to hurt you or kill you. Life is here to grow you. So if you're out here giving life to another human being and then neglecting it, you're neglecting yourself, because that experience, that growth process is for you. It's not for the child. Yes, it's for the child in a certain way. Y'all know I've been struggling with boogers. Don't let me talk with the boogers. And if you see a booger in my nose, pass on by. Thank you. Don't be talking about me. But anyway, guys, come on. We have to understand that this is about community. I heard Dr. Henrik Clark talking about the fact that the oppressive Caucasian or European Eurocentric social structure has been heavily rooted in the individualistic ideal towards society, where we're all involved in capitalism, we're all competing against one another, we're all in a mind frame that resources are scarce and that there's nothing we can do to survive unless we're doing for self. That is, excuse me, ooh, I'm trying to burp. That is extremely destructive behavior. It's a destructive ideal, and it should not be allowed to grow in you in the form of selfishness, in the form of competition, in the form of jealousy, in the form of capitalism, in the form of being an opportunist. That type of behavior is absolutely detrimental to the health and welfare of our nation. And yes, we are a nation. Black people, we are a nation of Moors. And we have to understand that we developed a system based on communal growth. We were based on our ability to come together as a village in order to facilitate growth and understanding and enlightenment. We went around the globe to share. We went around the globe to give and to receive through our giving. We wanted to see, if I teach you how to do trigonometry, what will you do with those skills? If I teach you architecture, if I teach you the language or language arts, if I teach you the science, if I teach you the martial arts, if I teach you all these things, what will you do with it? I believe that was the spirit of our ancestors when they walked the earth trying to give of themselves. They dug deep down within and gave this esoteric knowledge to the rest of the world, I believe, for the purpose of growth, so that societies would flourish and people would be able to say, I created this. You know, this is for all of us. You like Tesla when he talks about how electricity is an untappable, untappable resource. Lord, these lips, I can't talk. Lord knows I shouldn't be speaking English anyway. Where's my tongue click? I'm trying to click my tongue. But I really think that it has to do with the way we perceive ourselves in society, and it always spills over into our personal lives. It's one reason why I, for one, have been extremely pissed about learning the truth, because I thought that things were different. I thought that the truth was being told. I thought that I was right in believing in Jesus. I thought I was good. I'm going around preaching to people. I'm going around talking to people about all the goodness of the Lord and what he's done for me. Oh my God. And then I realized that's not it at all, you know? So let's get back into the spirit of sharing for the purpose of growth, for the purpose of enlightenment, for the purpose of knowledge, and for us to progress our society forward in a positive motion. How can we do that? We have to reverse our learning. We have to go in and reprogram ourselves based on the truth. If you do not research, if you do not read books, if you do not read more than blog articles and memes, you are not going to find the path of enlightenment with any more ease than you already have so far. So do yourself the favor and read. Do yourself the favor and culture yourself. Do yourself the favor and expand your consciousness. Do yourself the favor of exposure, especially for your children. Expose your kids. They need to have the balance too. They need to be introduced to themselves. They need to know that there's this balance, this internal energy that exists inside of them that must be balanced in order for them to experience the functionality of life or the functionality of creation. So each one of us is a co-creator with the universe. And once we realize that these energies exist and that these